Hey, welcome back to Web Squadron. So a question was asked on the Elementor community Facebook group, and in fact it was a similar two questions came up on the same day, but I'm going to focus on one of them, where someone had an example website that we're looking at right now, and what they wanted to do was to kind of imitate the off-canvas menu that we have here. So what we have is you click over here and the menu slides in from the left-hand side. And what they were struggling to do was, well, how can I get this to work like this? Not the entire same look, but how do I get it to work? But also, you'll notice that rather than just having links to pages, well, these are links anyway, there is also a drop down. And when you click the drop down, you have further options. And some of the drop down, so if we go to, I think it was investors, there's a drop down within a drop down, almost in effect. And what I explained to them was is that you can do this with an off-canvas menu created with a pop-up and using accordions within an accordion to get the drop-down effect that we have over here. So I'm just going to show you how we can do that. So the first thing we want to do is we need to create a pop-up template, because that's how the off-canvas menu is going to slide in. So what you do is you go over to templates, make sure you got Elementor Pro, by the way. You go to templates, you go to save templates, and you might just want to click all so you can see what you've got, and then you click add new. You could also just click pop-ups, and again it kind of takes you into the same kind of functionality we're doing here, but I prefer to always just go via my templates because I'm strange like that. So we go over here and whoopsie daisy, there we go, and we're going to pick pop-up, okay, and I'm just going to type in here, give it a title. I'm going to call it off canvas menu. You know, make sure you give it a name that you can remember. Okay, right, so create template. Now, because we're doing a pop-up, it's going to give us lots of various options of pre-built pop-ups. So you can pick one, modify it, and away you go. I always say sometimes it's easier to create your own, but that's just me. So I'm going to X that, and I'm now going to hit the plus sign here. And what we're going to do is try and replicate what we've got here. Not completely. I'm not here to completely copy this. I'm just getting the functionality. So it's going to be one column. So we'll go for just one section with one column. Okay, right. Before we do anything else, I'm now going to go in, click the grid for the section, go over to the left-hand side, and I'm going to set the width to be boxed, and I'm going to set it to be about, let's go for 300. No, that's a bit too small. 400. Yeah, we'll go for a 400 width there. Okay, columns gap, no gap, and the height, I'm going to say fit to screen. Okay, so in effect, when this works, it should be fitting the height of the screen when you click on it. So boxed 400 pixels, because if you go for full width, you can go for full width, to be honest. So when it slides in, it will cover the entire screen. Or maybe you only want it to cover half the screen. So have a think about your width and what size you want to go for, okay? Columns gap, I just go for no gap because I like to control the padding and the margin of it. And then fit to screen, okay? Column position, we will leave that as it is at the moment. So now I've come to the settings bit. Now this is a bit of a funny one because I've already, if I go back into my section, I've already said the width of my area is 400, but that was just for the section. What I now want to do within the settings when you click the cog is I now want to say the actual width of this entire pop-up, is it going to be 400 as well? So it's kind of like bang on almost to the edge, or am I going to increase or decrease it? So again, have a think about what you want to do. I'm going to set my position to be to the left-hand side, and I'm going to leave the vertical as a central like that at the moment. In fact, I'm going to put this to the top, which we'll do in a moment. I'm not going to do an overlay. Okay, so look, let me show you that. If I put the overlay back on, when it slides in, whatever's behind the menu goes like a dark color, and you can change that color if you want. You know, it's up to you if you want that, but for the person I'm going to share this video with, there was no overlay going on here. It just slides in, so we're going to leave the overlay off, okay? And we do want to have a close button because I think that makes sense. Now over here, they've done something different. The close button is actually with the navigation button. I'm not going to completely imitate what we've got here, okay? So I'm going to leave the close button as it is. Entrance animation, I'm going to say fade in from the left. So it will fade in, basically. And the exit animation will go, we'll say fade out right, fade out left, fade out right. I think that's it. Do you know what? I'll have to test this out now. Am I doing this wrong? Fade out left. No, fade out left. Of course, it's going to go that way, isn't it? We don't want it to go that way. So fade out left. Okay, cool. Right. Animation duration. I might just drop it down to be about 0.5. I don't want it to take whatever second. I want it to be quite quick. General settings, I'm just going to leave that as it is, and I'm not touching anything else. I'm going to go to the style, and I'm just going to say make sure that the background for this is a white, because sometimes if you don't do that, it might come through as a transparent. You can set an image up as the background. So if you wanted to, you could do something like this, which we are not doing, by the way, but I just want to show you, you can have an image in the background. We're going to get rid of that image for now, just in case you ever wanted to. You can, there is a shadow effect here, which you can clearly see. If you don't want the shadow effect, click the anti-clockwise or undo back to default icon there, and it will remove that. And in terms of the close button, we can start to position, is that on the left or the right, or where does it actually sit? And also we can start to adjust the size. So I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger, like so. Yeah, okay, nothing fancy going on there. You can also do outside, and what it will do is it will put it there, but I always think just leave it inside. Now the advanced, okay, back over here to the advanced tab. I always tick prevent closing on overlay, because if someone has hit the menu and they accidentally click over here, it's going to close the menu, which can be annoying. So I always do that. Just force of habit. And again, you don't have to do that. Okay, right. We're now going to hit publish. No, we're not going to hit publish because we haven't actually added anything. Right. Now let's go back to our section. I'm now going to say the column position is at the top. So we start at the top and then we work our way down. Okay, right. So if we go back to this menu, we have a search bar, which again, I'm not going to add. If you want to add the search thing, go in and stick it in from, your grid over here, add the search in. I'm focusing on the accordions that we have over here. Now, I'm not using toggle, basically because if you use toggle, if you click one of these and then you click another one here, this is doing that at the moment where you have one item open and then another item, but then you got to scroll to see it, and I don't like that. What I would prefer is that when I click, say, investors, I would prefer it if I click about us, I would prefer it if investors had closed. I don't want to have to be scrolling up and down to see them. So there may have been a reason why they did that. So I'm going to go over here, and I am now going to just add a bit of padding in, just to bring this down. So let's just start the margin, and we're going to say 200 is way too big. So let's go for 50, and we'll just increase that to take it down to about, we'll just start there. And one of the things I do want to get across though, is that when you are using off-canvas menus, you could, if you want, add your social sharing icons. Social, so you could add your icons like at the top there. For instance, you could have your contact form, you could add an address, you could add an image, you could add a link to a product, an advert, anything you want. It doesn't have to be just your menu sitting in here. So you can use off-canvas menus any way you want. Right, let's just get rid of that. What we're now going to do is bring in the accordion. There we go. Now, the accordion is always going to open on the very first tab, which is deeply, deeply annoying. I am later on, once we built this, going to add in a bit of code into the custom CSS for this, which will then force the tabs to always be closed until you click on it. And I would always recommend that when you're doing accordions, especially with FAQs or menus, it's not a bad idea to do that. Do you get me? Okay, right. So let's just close down this one at the moment. So this accordion currently has an icon. So I'm just going to pretend we probably can't replicate these icons because they were probably loaded in, but I'm just going to go over here and I'm just going to call this menu item 1, okay? Just so we know what it is, okay? And I'm going to get rid of the text that currently sits in there at the moment. And I'm now just going to change the icon. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go for all icons and I'm going to go for seed. Don't ask me why, okay? So what will happen is at the moment we have, in fact, what do? They leave the same icon. Interesting. So let's do that as well. So we'll go for seed, all icons. There we go. And we will now just insert that there. So whether it's open or closed, you always have a seed symbol. Again, look, this is just like anything else you do in Elementor. You go to style and you can start to mess around with not the spacing. Actually, Can we modify the size of that? No, we can't. Ah, yeah, I forgot we can't do that, can we? No. Okay, there is CSS you can add in, by the way, if you want to increase the size, but I'm not going to focus on that for this video at the moment. But if you wanted to, you can add some in. You can make that icon a bigger size, but we'll leave it at that for now. What we will do, though, is just change our font for our title. So I'm going to pick EM, and I'm going to pick A2, and I'm just going to drop it down to about a 1.3-ish, roughly like that. Okay, cool. I'm not doing the typography or anything fancy. Right, so what we now have is an accordion, one entry, okay, and it's got nothing in there, okay, just an accordion and there is nothing in there, okay. This is where we're going to add in another template, okay. So at this point, we now have to, we just have to publish, okay, and I'm going to add a condition. I'm going to say that this is available on the entire site, and I'm going to say that the way this appears is on clicking. So the trigger, if we go back over here, is this works on click, and that is it, okay? That is it. It doesn't have to work on a page load, so you don't want someone to come to a page and the menu slides in. Maybe you do. If so, go over here and say, do it on a page load, and how many seconds do you want it to be before it appears? We just want it to work on click. So we'll click next and we'll just hit save and closed. Okay, right. So we've done that. What we now need to do is create the items. So if we go, let's just use the investors one as an example. We have items and we have another accordion. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our templates. Okay, save templates. And we're now going to create add new. And I'm now just going to create another one. So I'm now just going to call this a section. And I'm going to call this menu item 1. Menu item 1 submenu. I should have thought about this a bit more. Create template. We hit the X because we're going to create it from scratch. Right. So we're going to go over here and we're going to do one section. I'm going to set this section to be about 350 pixels in width because I want it to be smaller. I don't want it to be the full width of the 400. I can do, and what I would say is when you create it, see what it looks like and then mess around with it to get it to look the way you want. Okay, right, so we've gone for a 350 there, okay? And the column, we're going to say horizontal alignment is going to be at the start, okay? Right, so this template, this is going to contain within there another accordion. So we'll go for accordion. We're going to drop it in there, okay? And we are just going to delete the very first one. We're going to delete the text. And we're just going to, again, look, I'm not going to mess around entirely with everything they did here. They didn't have any icons shown. So in fact, we will get rid of the icon, okay? Because they didn't have it. So why should we? Okay, and I'm just going to style this ever so slightly differently. So I'm just going to go for EM and I'm going to go for a 1. Yeah, about 1. And I'm going to set the weight to be about 300. So I'm just dropping the weight there. Okay, that could be, let's go to content. Let's just call it sub item 1. Okay, and obviously what you would do for sub item 1 is this could be a link to another area, for instance, okay? Okay, so sub item 1, okay, this is now in effect going to be doing what we have here. So what it will now is it will contain additional items. So within sub item 1, I'm going to say page 1, and I'm going to do a return and do page 2. I would then highlight that, go to the link button over here, and I don't have many pages on here, so I'm just going to type home. All right, just, you know, this is rubbish because I don't have many pages on this testing site, so I'm just adding in some fake. I'm just going home. But obviously you would do it to the relevant page that this is pointing to. So then we're going to go to style and we're going to go to content, and I'm just going to, again, put this down to about 1 and set this to be 300. There we go. So we have sub item 1, and within there we have page 1 and page 2, and they would take you to those pages. Okay, so that in effect gives us that icon. Now I just want to show you what that looks like. We do have a grey border around that accordion. So I'm going to go to the border, And I'm just going to set the border to be 0. So now we don't have a border around it. You want to have a border? Add a border in. It's up to you. Over here, we do have a border. So for the main accordion, we will still leave that in. But for the sub ones, we don't have that there. Okay, we don't have that there. Right. Okay, so if we now go over to this accordion that we currently have at the moment, that kind of works well for that. What we're then going to do is add in, it's up to you, you could do it with a heading, you could do it with a text box. So over here, I'm now going to put sub item 2. I'm going to now just quickly set this typography as EM1, as a weight 300, and I'm now just going to just slightly modify the start point for the margins, and this is where you might want to get out your little trusted pad with a flat side, just to make sure it is flat, because that's just the way I am. I am so weird, aren't I? And you might want to go to your column, and the widget space is always defaulted to 0 unless you've changed it in your Elementor settings. I hit 0, so I get that effect there. Now this at the moment is, or does have a, how to explain it? It is a drop down. So we've now got to somehow indicate to the user that this is a drop down. So I go back into my accordion, okay, and I'm just going to add in, well, I don't want to add an icon at the end. But what I am going to do over here is I'm just going to add in like a button like that. It's not the greatest way to do it, and there are other ways you could do this with adding in another icon, but I'm just going to do it like that just to let the user know there is a drop down there. Okay, so we can do that like that. Now sub item 2, okay, which is just a header on its own. Again, I'm going to put a link to a page. Again, this is fake. I haven't got any pages here. So the idea is you got sub item 1 and then sub item 2. And I'm just going to duplicate that. And I'm going to give it a bit of breathing space at the top. By the way, make sure you check out how this looks in your mobile. Adjust your margin and your patterns. Adjust your margins and your padding accordingly to how it looks, okay? Don't just do it the way I'm doing it and then go, hey, look, oh yeah, damn, I forgot to do that. Do it as you go along. So sub item 2 now, I'm going to call this sub item 3, and we will have set the link to go wherever. Maybe you want sub item 4 to now be another accordion. Well, you would just duplicate this one over here, right? Take it to the bottom. Take it to the bottom. You might need to use your navigator at this point. Just drop it to the bottom like so. And we're going to change this to be sub item 4. Again, you would probably have whatever pages you have in there. You know, you'll get used to it. And then what you want to do is just check how does it look in terms of the spacing. And the spacing between, I have to say, the spacing from here to here isn't the greatest. So I'm just going to decrease that to be a -3. And I'm going to do the same here as well, -3-ish. I think that will do. Okay, right. So what we have is we've created another template, and this template is basically like the sub item. Okay, now what do we do next? I'm now going to go back into my templates, go back to template, save templates, click all. Menu item 1, the sub menu. This is what sits within the first menu. So I'm now going to pick up this code here. Elementor template ID 946. What the hell does that mean? I don't know and I don't care. That's the code. You just pick it up. I'm now going to go back to my off canvas menu. And this does feel a little bit fiddly because you're going pop-up menu, then you're doing an accordion and whatever, or however you want to present your button. You know, you don't have to use an accordion. You could have used just buttons if there were single menu items with no drop down. You could also have just put a nav menu in. Don't forget that. You could, over here, you could have picked up your nav menu, your navigation menu, drop that in, make sure it's vertical, you know, or even have it as a drop down or however you want to do it. And then you could have done it like that and then have your drop downs within there. It's entirely up to you how you want to do it. I'm just showing you another way of doing it with accordion, but there is the drop down submenu way of doing it as well, the traditional way. Right, if we now go to our off-canvas menu that has an accordion within there, if I go to menu item 1 and I open that, within the text, I'm going to drop Elementor template ID 946. Nothing really appears at the moment, but that's because it's just dropping it in. Right, let's now just update that. Okay, now what I am going to do is just duplicate what we've done above, just because I just want to show you the effect. So we have menu item 2, I'm going to call it, and for menu item 2, I'm going to change the symbol to be, oh, let's just go for this, the claret, okay, because I don't want to spend too long on doing this, and we'll go for that one as well. Claret, it's meant to be claret down, isn't it? Claret, where are you? It is called claret, isn't it? No, carrot! Oh, God. Lack of Pepsi Max. This is what happens to me. Right, okay. So we have the icon for the down. Oh, dear, I forgot. I forgot. It messes up the icons for all of them. There are ways around that, okay, and if you spend a bit more time and a bit longer, you can do other ways of doing this. So what you could do is you could do inline options, you could use buttons as well, so but that wouldn't give you the accordion look that I'm trying to go for. So right, okay, right, ignore that now. Okay, you can't ignore it because you've seen it, so you know. Anyway, okay, right, so what we now have is we have item 1 and we have item 2. Okay, let's just update that. Update. Right, let's now just go to preview page. Right, so here we are, we're previewing a page. Okay, now at the moment we haven't actually added in a button to activate this. So I'm now going to go back to my templates. Okay, back to templates, and I'm now going to go to my header template. So I'm going to go to my save templates, and I'm going to go to the header one. I'm going to go to edit with header, edit with Elementor. So this is my template at the moment. Social sharing icons, navigation menu at the top, and I got my logo over there. I'm going to insert another column, okay? And I'm just going to move it to be there, and I'm just going to shrink this down to be a particular size, okay? In fact, what I probably would want to do is not do that. Let's just undo that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to pick icon. And I'm going to drop icon to just be above the light bulb, okay? I'm then going to go over to my icon and I'm going to say positioning is inline. And I'm now going to go to my light bulb logo. Okay, that is not text, that is a logo, by the way. Without any color. I'm going to go to the positioning for the light bulb logo and again set that to be inline. And look, it is now in line. I'm now going to go to my column and I'm going to say the vertical should be in the middle. I'm going to go to my logo and I'm going to say, give me some breathing space of about 40, roughly-ish, however you want to do it, away from the icon. I'm going to go back to my icon. I'm going to go to the content, click that, and I'm going to pick, this is where I can't remember which one it is. There it is, stream. We're going to go for stream. There you go. That's the one I wanted. Found it. So we're going to click stream and we're going to add that in. That at the moment is looking pretty dominant and big, so we're just going to drop it a little bit like so. You might want to import your own SVG or even use an image. You can use images as well, so drop a little tiny image in, size it accordingly in media library. You know, once you know what size you want it, scale it down, okay? Have it however you want, and we're going to just set the primary color to be, we'll go for black, and we'll say when you hover over it, go a red color. There we go. Okay, it doesn't have to be red. In fact, no, we won't do red. We'll go for a slightly light grey color like so. Okay, cool. And then we're going to update that. Now this icon, when we click that icon, or the icon, sorry, and we go to content, we're now going to say, well, what does that do? You might have the icon take you to another page. In this case, we want to click the icon to open the off-canvas menu. So we click over here, link options. Okay, no we don't, sorry, dynamic tags. And we are going to go down and we are going to pick pop-up from the actions box. So rather than clicking link options, sorry, my mistake, you click dynamic tags and you go down and you pick pop-up. Okay, now, so now you're in pop-up. To get it to pick the right pop-up, and this is where people suddenly go, well, where do I go? Where do I type? There's a little spanner or a wrench or whatever you want to call it. You click into there. And this is now where it says, well, what do you want to do? Open pop-up, close pop-up, toggle. Well, we want to open. And the pop-up we want to pick is, if I type off, there it is, off canvas menu. So we're now going to click that one, and we click update. Okay, so if I now test this out just over here, if I click that, the menu comes in. Now that came in actually very, very quick. So I now think that we need to just go back a step to our template. Okay, so where I said it was 0.5, that probably was a bit of a mistake. Let's just go over here, go to off canvas menu, edit with Elementor, dun, 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 go to the settings, go over here, and we're going to say fade in from the left. In fact, so we will say, let's just do 1.5. Okay, update that. So before we now actually view it, one thing we do need to do, or two things we need to do on both our templates, is stop the accordions opening before we actually click to make them open. So we're going to go to, you can get it from the Web Squadron YouTube channel, but I'll also stick it in the description or the comments for this video. So if you scroll down, eventually you'll find a video for accordions, which is, here we go, how to stop Elementor's accordion opening on the first tab. So we're just going to go to that video. Stop the sound. Right, okay, if we just go over down here, here's the code we want. It is a bit of CSS. I can't, I'm sorry about that. So what you do is you go over here, you go to your templates, okay, go to both of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open both of them at the moment. Okay. And I'm just going to go to, normally you don't have to do this once. Okay, you don't have to do this twice, but I'm just going to go over here to this accordion, go to advanced, go to custom CSS, and I'm just going to type this in here. So I'm going to say Elementor accordion, do not open the very first one. Now, the slight problem with this is that you do have to create a fake dummy header. So if I go over to my accordion, okay, I'm just going to copy the very first item. That's all you got to do, just copy the very first item, click update, okay, and if I now just hit return, the first item is there. So let me just explain that again, okay? You duplicated the very first item, because what that code does is it hides the very first item, which is normally open. So it's a really quick way of doing it. And I'm just going to go over here now to these accordions here as well. And I'm just going to go to advanced, go to custom CSS. I'm just going to put that into there as well. And then I'm just going to go to my content and I'm just going to duplicate the very first item again. Okay, and I might just need to do it for this one as well. So just duplicate the very first item again as well. Okay, cool. Right. There you go. So now that I've refreshed the page, we've got accordion, we've got sub item 2, which is just a header, sub item 3, which is just a header, and then we've got sub item 4, which is an accordion. Okay, right. Now let's actually view the page. So I'm just going to delete the cache, delete the cache, delete. Right. So if we now just copy that and go to incognito or a private window, this is our example page. This is the one we built in our basic course, which is 4 hours long video on our channel. Start to finish, domain hostings, how you build a website and a page, get a score over 90% for your desktop and your mobile. We cover a lot of stuff in here, but please go away and have a look at it. Right, let's test out the menu. It's a little bit slow because it's 1.5 seconds, so you might want to speed that up. And we can close it and open it. Okay, great. Off canvas menu. We have menu item 1, menu item 2. None of them are open because we put that code in for the accordion. So let's just click open to menu item 1. The text there is pretty small, so maybe you just want to mess around with that. I did EM1. You might want to increase that. So once you've tested it out, go away and just modify it. Okay, so that's menu item 1. And if I click menu item 2, menu item 1 closes. So we don't now have multiple tabs open. If I go to menu item 2, I get a link there to take me to a page. If I click over here, I get the sub menu. And if I go over here, I get another sub menu. Okay, now one of the problems though is because that accordion is different to the second accordion over here, it's not going to force this one to close. So I'm sorry about that, okay? But if you mess around with it, you can get it to look a certain way. But look, quite a long video this, but the main things we covered off were off canvas menu, using the accordion within there if you wanted to have a certain type of drop-down menu system, but then also adding in a drop-down within the drop-down. So go away and play with it. You know, how wide do you want your pop-up menu? How do you want the content to display? This is not completely imitating at all what this one does. This is much more fancier with the icons and the way it's laid out at the moment. But it's the same kind of concept with pop-up menu, accordion, and then have accordion within, okay? But if you're not too fussed about the way it's presented, you might be happy just putting in your nav menu with your drop-downs. But that's entirely subjective and down to you for what works. Look, I hope that's really helped. You know, like, subscribe, and see you soon.